I'm recording, and we're good.
And hold it. We're live.
Yay.
You're listening to the Verhoeven Effect podcast. I'm Conlon.
I'm Nathan.
Today we have another very special episode, a listener request. We have Slapshot, the 1977 film starring Paul Newman. Came out on February 25th, 1977, just in time for Valentine's Day.
Yep.
Directed by George Roy Hill, who's probably most famous for Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, The Sting, and Slaughterhouse Five.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting arc to his career.
Yeah, and he's doing kind of a comedy. Although this is more of a, it is like an overtop comedy, but it is like also subdued in some ways. But
yeah, it's an interesting movie. It's uneven.
Yeah,
There's things that I really like about it, like mainly the dialogue and the interplay between the characters. The overall story, the first and second acts are good. The third act, it kind of just falls apart on me.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy. I mean, it's a throwback. It's like, oh, if you thought Major League was funny, this is where it all started.
Yeah, because that's one of the reasons I never saw this movie, because I was like, I've seen Major League.
Yeah.
Even though this precedes it, and they're not really, they're not really the same story, but it's, it's very similar.
Well, it's kind of like a comedy, like, let's write this as if we're in a locker room. And this is how people talk and act and behave, which is funny because it's like, this is how work is still.
Cinematographers Victor J. Kemper, who did things like National Lampoon's Vacation. He did Dog Day Afternoon.
Okay. Another good comedy.
Yeah, there's a lot of comedies, actions, and dramas. So, he's a cinematographer, so he just goes where the work is. But interesting filmography. Written by Nancy Dowd, which is interesting that a woman wrote this.
Yeah, it is. That's very interesting.
Her trivia is like super weird because she she only has like 3 writing credits, but she has like 20 uncredited like writing credits.
Oh, so is that like Punch Up or what?
Yeah, and also, I guess
older version of it.
I guess she wrote under like pseudonyms and stuff like that. Okay. She has a bunch of story by credits too, but I guess somebody went in and. But like her other big thing was she did. You ever seen Coming Home? I haven't seen it, but I just know it's like kind of like a coming back from Vietnam movie.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. I think I have seen that. It's one of those dour 80s dramas.
It was late 70s, but yeah.
Late 70s, okay.
Well, I think it's like around this. I think like Deer Hunter was like the same year, so it was like that was the year when the Vietnam movies were starting to spill in, and they were like trying to like not necessarily just show the horrors of like Vietnam, but just like the horrors of people coming back from Vietnam and stuff like that. So, but like the interesting thing about her is that she based a screenplay on her brother, who was a minor league hockey player.
Okay.
And he plays the Oglethorpe. That is her brother.
Oh, all right. Well, that makes sense.
Ben Dowd, who has a weird career. He's in hockey, and then he was out of that, and then he has like a bit part here. He did some other like bit parts in other movies, and then he became like a producer. And like he like executive produced like Apocalypto and a bunch of other movies.
Okay. All right.
So here's somebody who like parlayed their like semi-successful minor league hockey career into executive producing movies.
Yeah, it's from in front of the camera to behind the camera. It's a lot less work.
But yeah, have you seen this movie before, or do you have a history with it?
I saw it a long time ago.
Okay.
A long time ago, because there was a time I was watching a bunch of Paul Newman movies.
Okay.
And this came up, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. This is different for him.
Yeah.
This is So yeah, I saw it a long time ago. I just watched it right before the show. So well, we started a little late because I was kind of behind, but yeah.
That's it. Well, I mean, it's a long movie for a comedy, so
Yeah, like I said, it has a very for a '70s film and a comedy. It has three very distinct parts to it.
Of course, stars Paul Newman. Really, nobody else, but the top three are like Michael Ontkeen and Strother Martin, who he would do like a lot of like cowboy
Police
stuff.
Academy guys or whatever.
Yeah. So it's like
actually retired from acting in like the early 2000s.
I forget Strother Martin. Also, I think it's Strother Martin. He has I think that's the guy that plays Joe, the owner, quote unquote owner.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. And I think he was like an Olympic swimmer, and like, or he was like on course, and then like he like came in fourth, and like he would have gone to the Olympics, and he came in third, and I think he was also like a veteran too.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, he died not long after this movie came out. He died in 1980.
Huh.
No, Michael Ontkeen was the one. That was the guy who's from Police Academy and stuff.
Oh, okay. Is that the announcer?
Yeah. No, it's the guy who on the team who wouldn't go along with the roughhousing activities because he.
Oh, okay.
But he was also like a really screwed up person in his own way.
Yeah, so we have Act 1. There's a commercial playing, and there's like people like waiting for like the it's like a sports talk show, and they're like waiting for the commercial to end.
Yeah.
And it's the Charleston Chiefs. That's it's like a minor league hockey team in, where are they? Like
Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah.
Charleston, Pennsylvania. No idea if it's a real place or not.
No, it's based on a real. Well, it's based on Pittsburgh, but
yeah. Well, yeah, because the 70s was the big like all the steel production just suddenly ended because it was cheaper elsewhere in the world or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It was the beginning of the end for the empire.
Then we have a French Canadian guy who, well, I assume all the French people in here are French Canadians because
yes, they are.
I
am the only American movie translated into what they call Quebec Francais, which is like the local French they speak in like Quebec.
Yeah.
This is the only American movie ever sub-translated into that because there were people because these guys were in the movie, and it's like, oh wow, cool, in an American movie, and this I guess was a big deal in Canada in the 70s. I don't know.
Well, I think the guys that were French Canadian like redubbed their own voices, and then everybody else got just dubbed by people. But
oh, okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, so the French Canadian guy's explaining like rules of ice hockey. It's like essentially like, here's all the illegal moves, which is like, this is a good precursor because it's like you get to the rest of the movie, it's like they're telling you up front these are all the things you don't do, and then towards the end it's the only thing they do.
That's how you win also. Apparently. I don't know anything about hockey, so I was going into this like, okay, yeah, I guess so.
They cut to the Chiefs playing, and they introduce the Chiefs hockey team, and the crowd just seemed to hate everybody on the hockey team, and it's a home crowd too, hating all the guys.
Yeah.
One guy gets called a frog pussy by some lady.
Yeah, there was some weird like old school insults in this movie like that.
The Star Spangled Banner gets played, and some people are like paying to stand for it. It's like, oh god, we gotta do this.
Yeah, it's just like so everyone's very disdainful of the team, including the team.
I mean, this was like around the how was it, the Carter years, so like nobody felt good to be American.
No, there was no reason to be happy.
I mean, there's a reason that Ronald Reagan got elected, and it's not necessarily that like Carter had bad ideas, because pretty much everything ideas his whole administration had is now. It's like, oh, we could have done this literally decades ago, but nobody was ready for it, and they made America
well, I mean,
feel
failing
bad
now too, depending on who you ask.
Yeah, well,
failed then, failed now, but yeah.
But it was where was I going with that?
Yeah, stagflation and OPEC gangsterism was not fun to live.
But yeah, Ronald Reagan made everyone feel happy to be Americans. Yeah, while he destroyed America in a different way.
Yeah. It's an ogre's choice: die fast or die slow. It's up to you. You're poison.
And I said Paul Newman. His character is Reggie Dunlop. He's a player coach, which I guess he was like 51 or 52 when this movie was made. So
yeah,
it's gonna. I was like never. He just looks so weird to me in this movie, because I guess I always like remember like Paul Newman from Color of Money, which I guess he has a mustache and that just kind of makes him stand out in a different way. But yeah. He just looks so weird to me in this movie. I just never. It's like, oh yeah, it's Paul Newman. I have to say that like every 10 minutes.
He said it was the funnest movie he ever did.
Oh yeah.
He loved it. He said it made his vocabulary degenerated. Savage though, because it's say after this movie, I swore all the time. Before this movie, I didn't swear so much. Once you did this movie, it's like, oh, this is fun to use the F word all the time.
Yeah.
To describe everything in every situation.
Well, I mean, like kind of like his, big rise was in the 60s, and they probably were kind of like less likely to just throw swear words around in movies, because they'd probably be like, you can't do that. Even if
I know, because me and Stacy both watched this, and when it rolled up on screen, it's like, this is an R-rated movie for language and nudity. I said, oh, get ready for some weird 70s extended scenes and lots of swearing. And it lived up to its promise.
So the guy from the opening is the goalie. Oh yeah, and almost no one is wearing helmets. I think there's like one guy, and the goalies are wearing face masks.
Yeah,
but pretty much everyone's just like got their, just their face out there ready to get hit.
ready to take a puck or a stick to the face, or smash into a wood wall at 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, and some glass too. Yeah. gotta let the audience see you get plowed into a wall. Yeah, Reggie talks to one of the guys from the other team, and he's like, he got drunk on the bus ride over to the game.
Yeah.
And he says if he gets checked into the boards, he's going to piss himself. The Chiefs get scored on. And then there's like some lady, I think these are just like the hockey wives, because there's like a group of ladies that kind of get refrained throughout here, where they're like just bored. Like one of them's knitting. It's like, we're just here obligatory.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are they're down 2-0, and then they get a goal. I think Ben scores, because Ben is like their big player. He's also like college educated and stuff like that. So, don't really know like how the minor league system necessarily works in hockey. Because that's like weird in sports. There's like in baseball, like if you get drafted in baseball, they're going to send you to a minor league team until you like learn how to play baseball. It's like, did college mean nothing? Whereas like basketball, it's like, they'll draft like a 19-year-old guy, and then suddenly he's like the star player of the league. Like it's just it's weird how these different sports, like how that works out. But so I don't know how it is in hockey, where it's like, no, we need minor league hockey because it's to build the players. Because we have we got minor league baseball and hockey here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and whenever I hear about the Cedar Rapids Rough Riders, it's always in like, oh yeah, the goalie's got into a fight. It's like never about like, oh, they had an awesome play. It is just about like, oh man, you gotta go. Like they're gonna enact some awesome violence on skates.
Yeah, it's basically like a wrestling event.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's pretty much all these characters here are just very loud, boisterous characters. Like even this guy who's just like, about to piss himself drunk. Like he's in the movie for like 2 minutes, but you remember that guy because he's a character. He's the drunk. He's the drunk. Alternate player.
Yeah.
And then we have the announcer Jim Card, played by Andrew Duncan. He interviews an injured player who apparently just has a cold. I like this announcer because he's just a complete idiot, and it's just fun. Like he doesn't listen to the people he interviews, and all his facts are wrong. And then they show Joe McGrath, who like wrote The Owner ? And that's Strother Martin. He gets a phone call. Nicky's the drunk. He gets hit in the wall and he pisses himself, but apparently they did it for his own good, so he wouldn't stay in the game drunk, and so he kind of like extra like crouched over because apparently he pissed himself. But and then they just cut away. Like that's the end of the hockey game. I believe the Chiefs lose because I think the goalie got scored on like 5 times, so it's like there's no recovery from this.
Yeah, you're not gonna shift that.
Again, don't know much about hockey except what I played in a video game. There I learned what icing was. Nathan, do you know what icing is?
No, what is icing?
So you know how like in basketball, like a fast break happens where like a guy without the ball is on the other side of the court and you throw it to him and then he gets an easy basket?
Yeah.
So it's like in hockey, you can't do that. There's a certain line that players on the attack, like you can't send a guy can't cross a line like ahead of the puck. The guy with the puck has to cross the line on the attacking team before anybody else can cross.
Okay, so it's like a passing line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sort of like offsides, but like oh no, that's just offside. No, I'm definitely confused because also the other I actually think of icing is like when no fuck, what is it? Damn it! Now I forget what icing is. Now I just asked you condescendingly, like, do you know what icing is? Because there was a time also like if the defense, like if something happens and like they're in a bad rut and like one of the defensive guys gets the puck, they'll just shoot the puck all the way to the other end of the rink. And I think that's an icing call. And then they have to have like a face off at somewhere on the, but I think that's on like the offensive sides. But yeah, I haven't played video game hockey in like 10 years, so I also don't know hockey. Just know it's dangerous and they have a lot of equipment. So did you ever know did you ever know anybody who played hockey? Was that ever a thing in Indiana that popped up?
No, it's really expensive. I know people whose kids do it here, and it's very, very expensive. It's like, and it's all like there are very few high schools that just support a hockey team here.
Yeah.
So it's all like buy your own gear. It's all well, you know what you're doing every weekend of your life for the next 4 to 6 years, and so
yeah, because you can't just put up a hockey rink. Like you have to go to like 2 or 3 places.
Yeah. And here you go up into Canada and stuff a lot, and
yeah, I know like hockey's big in Minnesota, but they have all those lakes they can skate on. So
yeah. Oh, it's big here. There's a lot of people that do it, but like I said, that's how I know like how expensive it is. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, you got to have money to get your kid in that. So yeah, I don't know anything. I mean, I didn't know much about football until my son started playing it, and that was not horribly expensive. But well, if you didn't have good health insurance, it was. If you had good health insurance, it was not horribly expensive. If you broke, broken arm and a few, concussions, it's like Yep, thank God I have good health insurance because
I mean, there's a reason like soccer is the most popular sport in the world because it doesn't require a whole
yeah,
lot
you don't
of
have to have
setup.
infrastructure around it, field essentially, and you can build bandstands, and they don't even. I think the biggest deaths from stadium collapses have been in hockey or not hockey in soccer arenas
Oh yeah,
because they, some of them are just like, yeah, let's just grab some scrap metal from that ship that grounded itself, and we'll build an arena around it.
yeah.
That's why American sports are like weird and almost exclusive to America and maybe North America, because yeah, it's like football, all that stuff requires. I think hockey's probably the most intensive, especially if you have hockey teams in like the southern part of the U.S. It's like, oh, you're just building a giant refrigerator.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of frozen ice on the ground in Georgia.
Yeah, but I don't know. But it's kind of I forget the reasons for it, but like it is easier to build a hockey arena than it is to build a football stadium.
Yeah,
And I forget
probably
why that
smaller.
is. Yeah,
Doesn't have to hold as many people.
yeah,
And it's always
it's,
enclosed.
yeah. Because oftentimes, like a hockey team will share its arena with the basketball team.
Yeah.
Because like the Blackhawks play in the same stadium that the Bulls play in.
Oh, okay.
I think so. I think.
Yeah.
Um,
I just know they have that cool machine the guy drives that
the Zamboni.
resurfaces the ice, which is like cool. How ever seen how one of those work? Like
No.
inside? Oh my god! It's like it's a steampunk machine.
So yeah, so they cut from the guy pissing himself to there's like a date auction for all the Chiefs players. They're all angry about it. Nobody wants to do it. Johnny, one of the guys, goes out and flashes the crowd. They don't show it, but we hear all the women screaming.
Yeah, he says they're gonna run out of here screaming when I pull it out, and I'm gonna pull it out. He says something like that. Then you hear people like clapping and applauding and cheering, but you don't see it. You just hear it, and everyone's like, "What's going on?"
Then we have Reggie and Ned Braden. So like, they're the top guys on the team, and they're doing a radio interview with Jim Carr, and he's an idiot again. And the callers call in to hate the players. Like again, this is their home crowd calling in to hate.
You old fart! When are you gonna retire? When are you gonna die? It's just okay, folks. Let's keep our questions. Because they let that play on.
Yeah.
He just cuts it off like.
And so what they're setting up is like they're uncomfortable with this stuff because they've never had to do this stuff before because they're not getting enough attendance to like make it worth the owner's time, so they have to like drum up attendance, so they're having him do all these like radio interviews and stunts to get people interested in the hockey team. So
yeah.
I forget there's a podcast I was listening to, and they're talking about like the weirdness of like minor league baseball teams, and like they're actually kind of fun, but they also have to be family friendly, and so they have to like run this like razor edge of being family friendly and being entertaining because nobody's coming there to watch minor league baseball.
Yeah.
Like, let's watch high end mediocrity displayed.
Yeah, can you guys play baseballs and like juggle chainsaws? Just keep this moving.
And like the pay in minor league baseball is also just terrible. It's like, wait, you're technically a professional baseball player, but you still got to like work the mines.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like there's guys that like used to work in the plants that like it's like they played kind of this B league hockey or whatever on the weekends, and they'd come back with like their nose all looks like a piece of cauliflower or whatever. It's like, man, this is a lot of work, but it's the only chance they get to do it, and they love it. So
then we cut to from the radio interview to outside where Ned tells Reggie that they're going to close the mill. Reggie says they're just trying to scare the workers to make them be just happy that they have a job. But then Ned tells them that like no, they closed it off. Like it's and so Reggie's like, oh no, they are gonna close it off. And so like it's like 10,000 mill workers are gonna be placed on waivers. Then we see Ned waves at a girl, and then his angry wife Lily shows up and then picks him up in a car. They have a weird relationship, but they're I don't know. Everyone's relationship in this movie is weird.
Yeah, well, they're all just strange people.
Yeah. Oh, it's also the 70s, so it's like, what was that thing about like the generation where it's like this is the generation that got to like grow up and do all the drugs and have all the sex just before like AIDS and like the war on drugs happened.
Yeah. It's again, it's Adam Carolla's golden years. Mid coke, pre AIDS. It's the best time to be alive in 25. Alive, single, and 25. Oh, by the way, that actress that plays Lily, Lindsay Krause, is David Mamet's wife.
Oh, okay. Huh.
It's like a weird factoid I found. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, he didn't work on this movie at all, so.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
David Mamet's a wildly interesting character who has, again, he writes some of the best, weirdest dialogue. The best, cool sounding, no one ever talks this way dialogue.
Yeah.
Well, they call that hard dick talk. It's like nobody really talks to each other like that, because people would just be swinging on each other way before it came to that. But it's fun to listen to.
I have my favorite line, and it's super stupid, but it's just fun. It's from Heist, where like one of the guys is like getting antsy. It's like, do we got to shoot this guy? It's like, no, be cool. He's cool. It's like, he's cool. It's like, motherfucker's so cool. Sheep count him.
Yeah. Yep.
That's Mamet.
It's the best. You always want to work that into your real life, like talking to somebody, just never comes up.
Oh yeah. Or you could be the weirdo that forces it in. Like, what are you talking about? I'm making a movie reference. Like, oh great.
Like, are you this kind of jerk? It's like, no, I'm like, this guy watches a lot of movies, and I'm trying to work movies into my life because they're really the reality I want to live in. Because I'm kind of dissatisfied.
But like the whole like the workers being let go and like the town dying is an interesting like kind of backdrop to this movie. And
what makes it sad and grounds it.
Yeah.
Because no matter how much fun and goofiness is going on, it's like oh, this is basically the end of everyone's life we're seeing.
Yeah.
I mean, some might find their way out of it. But it's essentially, it's like, this is it for these guys. Everything sucks after this.
Yeah, this is all happy apocalypse because like this is going to become a zombie town very quickly.
Well, I like how the one guy says, it's like, oh no, looks like I'm heading to the Chrysler plant. And little does he know, like in 5 years, he'd be stabbing someone for that job because it's going to get a hell of a lot worse.
So yeah, Lily's driving Ned and Reggie. They're just like recklessly down hills. Like it's like they're shooting bullets.
Yeah, it's like I wonder how many of those vans they went through. Suspension just exploded out from underneath them trying to do that. Probably didn't. They probably put a stunt driver in there and took all the weight out of it. But yeah, it looked really scary. And this poor like Saint Bernard's in there with all the like, slow down, you're making her nervous.
Well, Reggie's gripped by fear, but Ned's just like playing with the dog and unconcerned about like they're almost dying at every moment.
Well, here's the weird thing about that scene: like his angry wife pulls up in the van, and then Reggie gets in, and Ned gets in, and then you just hear the dialogue: "Who's my girl? I love you. It's okay." Yeah. It's like, oh, he's making up for, basically hitting on another woman. His wife caught him. Yeah. No, he's in the back with the dog. And the girl's just like got a thing of hooch, like a thing of whiskey she's drinking out of, one-handing it down the streets, basically Pittsburgh, which are like, if you don't know, they're like this, a lot of them. And he's like in the back, like, who's my girl? Who's my favorite girl? And it's like, oh yeah, these people are a mess.
But then we have Reggie talks to the owner, Joe McGrath, again, who we think the owner is. I feel like I totally missed something because there's a thing in the third act when they reveal who the owner is, and I'm like, wait, who is that? Would they ever revealed early on, or is that just suddenly happening?
No, it's always been the mystery.
Okay.
He's actually in reality would be the team manager, but all these goons just think like he's the owner. He's the one calling the shots.
Yeah.
But Reggie knows better. He's just not. Reggie's like 5 IQ points smarter than the rest of the guys, except for Ned. He's such a mess that it doesn't matter. But yeah, so he knows like something's going
on. So yeah, Reggie's talking to Joe, and he's like, "Hey, what's gonna happen when the mill closes down?" And then Joe's like, don't worry about it, and like start thinking about like retiring and working in the front office. But however, when Reggie leaves, like Joe's looking to sell like all the equipment and the buses. It's like, okay, they're planning to fold the team.
Yeah, I just selling off some of the old stuff. Yeah, like the massage table, the tour bus, all the equipment. And it's so obvious.
And then Reggie goes to pick up some new players at the bus station, and then he finds these are the Hanson brothers who are beating up a Coke machine because they didn't give his money back. So yeah, you just hear just pounding and yelling, and they get up there, and there's like these like 3 tall blonde-haired, long-haired guys, and they have like nerdy glasses, and they're all like super young. Because he finds at some point he's like sees what they packed, and they packed a bunch of toy cars, and he's like, who are these guys you just drafted or bought my team with? I mean, that's kind of a weird thing because you don't see them like trading away their good players, because as far as we know, they only have like one good player. Like,
right.
They have Ned, who's the actually good player, and then you have Reggie, who's just like the guy who's the smartest guy, but not necessarily the best player. So yeah, but these guys are kind of like, I guess, in some way, yeah, they're weirdly the heart and soul of this movie.
Yeah.
Because they made multiple Slapshot movies. Right. Slapshot 2 came out in 2003, starred Steven Baldwin, and nobody shows up from the original except for the Hansons.
They're around.
And it was like 25 years later. And then there was a Slapshot 3 in like 2008, which is kind of like, let's do Slapshot, but like the Mighty Ducks. And again, the Hanson shows up to teach kids how to like punch and fight on the hockey rink rather than.
So they're just playing the same role every time.
Yeah. So.
Oh, okay.
And I was going to like pick up the DVD because like, it has audio commentary, but the audio commentary is just done by the actors who play the Hanson brothers.
They're always available. Hey, we got some more Slapshot related materials. We've been hanging out in this cabin waiting, man. We're ready to go.
I mean, they are kind of like weirdly the best part of the movie. My favorite parts, we'll get to it, but
strangely, they look like the actor, and I was thinking about it when the movie was playing. One of them looks a lot like the guy who played the heavy in the Skywalker trilogy. What's his Adam Driver?
Oh yeah.
One of them looks a lot like Adam Driver, and it's kind of strange because you're like, wow, that guy looks a lot. When the glasses are off,
yeah,
it's like that looks like kind of like Adam Driver. Like, probably because just the long hair.
Yeah,
but it's that's strange.
Yeah, because 2 of them I think are actually brothers, maybe twins. I'm not sure, and then one just kind of like vaguely looks like them.
The honorary brother.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're just a bunch of energetic morons that are looking for a fight. Although they are kind of like nice Canadians in a way. Like, I don't know if they're Canadians, but they just come off as Canadians.
I think everyone who plays hockey long enough eventually does, because that's where the best hockey goes on, or at least the heart and soul of hockey seems to be.
They're at a bar, and Reggie's like talking to a beat reporter played by Emmett Walsh.
That was weird to see a young Emmett Walsh.
Yeah, because that guy always looked old.
Yeah.
Even here, but he's a younger version of it.
All the Hanson brothers and the actor are from Virginia and Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so kind of Canada,
Yeah.
especially Wisconsin. It's like, yeah, it's sort of
It's up there.
Canada.
All
Yeah,
those people are weird.
they could have occupied it if they didn't want to. I mean, like Michigan invades it, so if it wasn't for the Great Lakes, we're surrounded by Canada on well 2/3 of our sides.
So yeah, the Ned and Lily are at the bar, and Lily wants to leave. She wants to like leave the whole town and wants to take jobs from their parents. Cause she just really hates this town. There's also like constant mentions about like, you know, she's the best piece of ass in the town. It's like,
It's good to be noted for something.
Oh yeah, I heard that you had the hockey goalie. His name is Denis. So
Yeah, I picked up on that. I remember that.
Because you know one of our favorite directors, Denis Villeneuve. So that's why I learned to not call somebody who's French Canadian or whatever not Dennis. It's Denis.
Yes, of course it is.
But they're like making a bet that they can pick up some lady. The bet goes wrong because one of the ladies is Reggie's wife. But they're like separated. They also have a super weird relationship.
Yeah.
They just haven't gotten a divorce, but they're still like hanging out at the bar. And he just picks up.
Well, she loves him, but he's just nuts.
Yeah.
So she doesn't really want.
Well, and he's unfaithful and flaky, just like every, you know, seemingly every sports star is.
Yeah, it's a lot of testosterone flowing around. That doesn't really make for what do they call those monogamous relationships?
Yeah.
It never happens. I mean, because like I said, and I've heard many times, a man is only as faithful as his opportunities. So it's like when people are just throwing it at you, like it's going to happen, especially when you're drunk all the time, constantly.
You have nothing but bad decisions ahead of you. Which one will you choose? The coolest one. Her name's Francine. You know, she still has his name, so it's Francine Dunlop. Then we cut to like the team's like going on the roads where they're getting on the bus, and like Lily runs up and she has a book in her hands, and she's like, "I underlined the fuck scenes for you."
Which leads to great dialogue between him and Dunlop. It's like, your wife underlines the fuck scenes for you? Yeah, they teach you that in college. She's like, they don't teach that in college.
Yeah, because this is like, I don't know, the guy, it's, you know, also there's a lot of like homophobic epithets in this movie, and I'm not gonna like, oh, this movie hasn't aged well. It's like, you know, it's probably how sports stars at the time spoke. So,
no, trust me, people still speak this way. I said, that's not changed where I work. We yell things like that at each other all the time.
But the interesting thing I do think, like, remember this movie's written by a woman. So.
Oh yeah.
So she's just revealing the truth.
Yep.
And yeah, the team. Also, we have the Hanson brothers. Like the team think they're a joke because like they sit up front and they're just like, who are these guys? And then we see like Joe getting on the bus, and they're all suspicious of it. Because it's like, wait, why is he going there? And then Reggie's like, wait, he's gonna sell the team, or he's looking for another job. Like, this is also where we get the first mention of Oglethorpe. The team's like worried about him. Is like, didn't he get arrested? And he's just some goon enforcer that has a big reputation. Yeah, first time I heard the term goon was probably the movie Goon. So, but
yeah,
it's existed, you know, pretty much as long as hockey has existed, which is basically just a guy who, like, if you have a guy who's not necessarily talented at hockey, but a guy who can just beat the shit out of somebody if he harms your team's talented player.
Yeah, he can skate, but his real skill is violence.
Yes.
Violent man that can skate. That's what you have to be to be violent. You have to be able to skate. Those two things don't often come together. So,
um, oh yeah, this is in the locker room because also the Hansons are taping foil to their hands. I don't know what that's about, other than just to like kind of protect their hands when they punch people. I don't know.
It's a kind of aluminum foil that they don't really. You can buy it, but you have to look for it special. It's a very thick grade,
Yeah.
and it basically would cut people.
Oh,
as
okay.
It's sheared off. But it's also right next to your skin, so it's like, well, okay. I don't know if that's something they made up for the movie or people have actually done this.
But, yeah. I've never seen
when
that
I
before.
think of like modifying my hands for punching, it's like, oh yeah, knuckle dusters, brass knuckles. It's like not something sharp that like could go either direction. I want this to be one direction. But yeah, apparently that was a thing.
Yeah, that is a weird thing because there's now a bare knuckle fighting league that exists.
That's fun. Sounds great.
And people was like, that's barbaric. But there was like several college studies about it, and they found bare knuckle boxing is safer than regular boxing.
Yeah, because you break your hands so quick.
Exactly.
Fight stops.
Yeah.
You're not padded where I can go for a few more 1,500 pound per square inch hits on somebody's skull. Which no, is like punching the skull is like putting a stone in a speed bag and just working it over your knuckles bust. So that's why I believe in brass knuckles. Like I've never thrown a punch in my life. I've been hit in the face, but I've never thrown a punch at somebody's head because I know it's like that's just like hitting wood or like no. But it's like if you can put brass knuckles in your hands, it's like yes. And it's like, oh wait, that kills people really quick. That's why they're a felony, because once you crack somebody's skull with brass knuckles, they usually die. Like, oh, okay. Because they always show those in movies, like people like, oh, these enforcers in the 20s and the violence of the streets of Chicago, they put knuckles on and they punch people like 5 or 6 times, like, you're gonna pay me. It's like, no, he's never gonna pay you because you just killed him. You crushed his skull. Like that guy's not paying you unless you're gonna take, like, if they use gold fillings, you might get payment of pulling his teeth out of his head. But yeah, that's but yeah, but bare knuckle boxing, yeah, that sounds pretty brutal.
Yeah, I mean, I think about it as like the people bleed more, but once you get a good shot in, like your hands are pretty much broken. So every punch after that is going to be a lot lighter than it would be. Yeah, essentially that's what makes it safer, is because you don't punch as hard, because you can't unless you're looking to hurt yourself more than you're hurting your opponent.
Yeah, I've seen too many guys that like get in these fights and it's like, can you drive me home? It's like, what's wrong? I can't, my right hand won't grasp anything. It's like, oh yeah, it's like broken in 3 places. Sure.
This is also where I find like Joe's trying to get a front end job with the team they're at. Reggie tries giving a pep talk. I like the Hansons are just kind of like mirroring the sentiment and yelling. They're not even really listening to him. It's like, yeah, win. That's what it's all about.
Just waiting for him to stop talking so they can yell stuff. They don't know what he's saying. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're just a great chorus to this movie. I think Ned like sniffs some coke before they go out. I rewinded
that was weird. I don't know what that was.
I rewind it several times. You never see anything. You just kind of see him go. Like, he puts his hand near his nose, he sniffs, and then he just walks out of there. You never see anything, so...
yeah, I never got that, because he hadn't been playing, so it wasn't like ammonia or something to wake him back up. He was just like, yeah, I don't know what they were implying there, or if there was something...
Yeah, I don't know, because that's... I don't know if they had nose torque at the time, which is like what you're talking about, ammonia or kind of smelling salts where... That's a thing they have now for like power lifters, or if you want to get like you want to get an extra 5 pounds, like you sniff this nose torque, which is basically ammonia, and it'll wake you up for like half a second or half a minute. It's like, whoa, all right, let's do this.
What's just inhaling pure oxygen from a bottle, like that'll get you going. And also make your heart explode, but risk reward. You got to balance it out.
All those weird things they do on the sidelines that just put you back in the game.
Yeah.
Just do a hydrogen cortisone shot into your knee. So you don't feel anything when you go out there and try to...
Yeah. I mean, the plates are still grinding together, but it's like, oh, the nerves aren't working. Let's get in there, boys. No nerves, no glory, or whatever. No nerves. No nerves, no glory. That's what they call that. What do you mean? I don't have nerves anymore? No, you just don't feel them for a while. But then they always come crawling back, your nerves.
I mean, that's one of the reasons like so many like sports players and even wrestlers too, just because of the damage they take. It's why they're alcoholics, because that's their self-medication that's disguised as a social like construct.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you feel less when you're drunk.
Yeah, it's a wonderful depressant. There's no healing herbs in it though.
Yeah, they're playing the Gears. Again, these aren't. I believe these aren't based on any real teams. They're just all messy.
No, I don't think any real teams would sign on their names being used in association with this.
Although weirdly, they're called the Chiefs here, but they don't have any kind of like Indian imagery or stuff like that. But it, when you get to Major League later on, it is the Cleveland Indians, which is now the Cleveland Guardians, I think.
Yeah.
And it was the Washington. What is the Washington team?
Generals, I think.
Generals, okay.
They should have kept it as football team.
Yeah.
Anyone who got their had to capitulate to that nonsense should have kept the most generic name. Obviously, just to thumb their nose and be like, yeah, this is what we are now with a football. I don't know if you could trademark football team, but yeah, they should all be like the baseball team, the soccer team, the whatever. It's like, yeah, here's a middle finger to you.
That's how they do it a lot in soccer, because I know there's like the soccer team called Fulham FC, which Fulham is the town they're in, and FC just stands for football club. That's the name of the team. It's just the name of the city that it's in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to get sucked into some weird, whatever that stuff is in our culture they do now with that, because it's like, it's just the city we live in.
Although one of my favorite names for a team, I'm not sure if it's a city's, probably, is just Arsenal. I just like
Arsenal. That's a good one.
I don't know if they're good, but I like the team name.
Someone should call themselves the ethnic cleansers. It's like, oh, you want an offensive name that doesn't like capitalize on anyone exploited? Okay, we got one for you.
No, my favorite. It was a joke from the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. It was about like them changing the name of the Washington Redskins, and then like the idea is like, no, we need to change it to something that people hate even more. And so they changed it to the Washington Gun Takers.
Yes.
And
I always thought the Carolina Klansmen would be a good name for it, but you spell it with a C, because clans, remember, were legitimate political and ethnic groups in Scotland and various parts of the British Isles. So it's like, no, we're not that kind of. This is with C. You're putting words in our mouth. And it had to be a Southern team. It would be weird if it was like a New York team or something. It had to be. No, it's our Scottish roots. Like they play the bagpipes and stuff. We're the Klansmen.
Or it gets relocated to like a weird place where it's like the Montana Klansmen.
Yeah. No, the Montana would be the like the Minutemen, or some kind of like all the militia groups that exist out there. What? This is our culture. This is our pride. The separatists. The Syracuse separatists. What does that mean?
The Montana low population density.
Yeah. The Montana density.
Do you like space between you and your neighbors? Welcome to Montana. Or
the
not.
Montana Congressman, because that's all they have. One. Or congressperson, if you got to play those games.
Yeah.
More effective when you have the Montana Congressman. Two senators, one congressman.
But I was like that, like the LA Lakers used to be the Minneapolis Lakers, and that name made sense, and then they moved to LA. It's like, it's just irony. It's a cool name, but it's completely irony. But also, like Utah Jazz is also like, that makes no sense whatsoever.
No, yeah, the home of jazz, Salt Lake City. That's what you think of when you think Salt Lake City. Jazz and people having fun. The fun never ends in Salt Lake City.
I saw a show where they did like a party in Salt Lake City, and the drinking laws are weird, but there's even like weird like exceptions where like you could sell weed and like hallucinogenic like mushrooms and stuff as long as it's based on a religion. So there's like literally churches. They're like, we're the Church of Weed, and they sell weed, and it's like their religion and their business.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the big thing going on there. It's that's what those churches are, is just a business. It's like, it's not really that weird, except these people are selling you something tangible like weed or mushrooms. The other ones are just selling you bullshit. Yeah. At least if I go to the Church of the Holy Mushroom, it's like, well, I know I'm going to freak out at some point. like I'm going to get exactly what I'm looking for.
I will see God at the Church of the
the Church of the Dark Mushroom will reveal God to me.
So it's after the game.
Has to do with this movie. I have no idea. But
we got onto team names, and then this is after the game. I for a moment there, I thought they were like saving money because like everybody was in one hotel room. I was like, wait, are they all rooming in one hotel room? But no, I think they're just partying in somebody else's room. Although there is a thing later on where they're booking people like four to a room, and then the Hansons like turn the hotel manager upside down. It's like, no, we need four to a room. Reggie gets a call, then he leaves the room. This is where he spots that the Hansons playing with their electric cars, to his like befuddlement. It's like, what are you guys? Who are you guys?
Yeah, because these guys were just like, they're these violent hockey players, but they're also like 12-year-old boys.
Yeah.
But they're real serious about it.
Yeah. Everything's 100% with them. It's like,
yep.
Hey, Reggie, you want to play electric cars with us? Like, no. It's like, okay. Well, I can't wait to punch somebody when we go back on the hockey scene.
Yeah.
Here we have Reggie sleeps with some lady, and he ends up talking about like her relationship with other women. And she talks about like when her husband found out like that she was a lesbian, he beat her, and so apparently she's on the run. Yeah. There's also a weird refrain here where it's like, I don't know if this was a sentiment at the time or just something in this movie. They're like, wait, if I sleep with a lesbian, does that make me gay? It's like, what?
Yeah, that was like a running conversation. You think that was a one-off line, but no, people would stop and like talk about this. Like, hey, doesn't that make... yeah, that's weird. But she's also like sleeping with Dunlop, and this is again long 70s weird nude scene.
Yeah,
this woman's boobs are on camera for like 12 minutes.
Oh, and she's got
wrong with it.
Yeah, she's got those classic ski slope, the 70s ski slope titties that must exist but just aren't in vogue right now. I haven't seen ski slope titties in a long time.
Once the bra comes off, they look like that. Those nipples, however, those were a home run. You don't see a lot of those anymore. I think it's like all the sugar in our diet. I don't know. People look different in the 70s. They also had really messed up teeth, though. That's one thing. It's like teeth now are so much better than teeth used to be.
Yeah. Well, and the food was horrible back then, too. So
yeah.
There's not
horrible
like
in a different way.
yeah, well, there's not like surviving cuisine from the 70s. It was just like it was just like the era of the casserole.
Yeah, anything you could boil or fry. There was like no, like you could. Yeah, I remember they said like grilling in your backyard. It's like what a crazy concept. Like now that's everyone does that.
Yeah. But also like people that have video games and TV wasn't as abundant, so like you ran off your calories just hanging out outside doing stuff. So because people like to say like, oh, like the nutrition now is terrible, there's so much sugar and everything. It's like, yeah, but also nobody's doing anything.
Yeah, it's not. If I get a really cool model and like especially in the fall when I start using a lot of my vacation time, it's like like Tuesday or whatever, I get back to work, like my back's killing me, and it's like it's not from work. It's from sitting in one place with big goggles on, slowly like assembling.
But in the 70s they would eat fried chicken and drink a 2-liter of Coca-Cola, but then they'd go out and play flashlight tag, and somebody would die in a creek.
Yeah, there was always something. Your chances of getting hit by a car even, because everyone was also driving drunk with no penalties.
Yeah.
There was like drinking and driving means you like really drunk and passed out and crashed into something. That was drinking and driving. If you didn't get pulled over, no foul.
And so after scene, we have Reggie meets with Dickie, the beat reporter, and here he's putting out rumors that like there's some like a group of retirees in Florida that are going to buy the Chiefs and presumably move them down there, not just purchase them, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
that's the idea. So I have that being the end of Act 1, because that's like sort of like okay, now that's what they're playing for. They're trying to sell the team, even though they have no stake in whether the team gets sold or not. So this is Reggie's ruse to save the team, mostly for himself and not even for the city. Yeah, he has no loyalty to the city. It's just all about him keeping his career going on. So
yeah, I mean, all these people in the city did was yell how much they suck at him all the time. So it's like, oh, see you guys.
So in Act 2, it's the next game. Reggie's harassing the goalie about his wife. So this is the guy who was beating his wife, who's now bisexual, I guess. Here, I guess they didn't have that term here.
No, they had different terms.
And the Chiefs get a last-second goal because there's like a team-wide brawl, and so the goalie leaves his box to go punch Reggie, and so they get an open goal. Reggie kind of gets the worst of the fight, but they get the win, so that's all he cares about.
Well, I think that was on purpose. It's like, just beat me senseless as long as my team can score. Which would be noble if it wasn't done for such awful reasons.
I also remember he's the coach too, so like these
the player coach.
Yeah. The team's happy, but Ned isn't, because like they just won by basically through cheating and shenanigans. So, next day we have Reggie finds Lily drinking in the daytime, just wandering about. But here she's spying on Ned, who's probably cheating on her, but
yeah, he is. Well, at least he's chatting up women.
Yeah. Because there's a whole thing for this movie where it's like they insinuate that he's gay, and at no point is that a thing. They just have, so it's like, and I don't, at the end of the movie, I'm like, is that supposed to be a thing or not? And I have no idea.
Well, I think the gay insinuation more comes from the fact that, remember, because he's the oddball, because he graduated college, and he's not one of the knuckleheads, and he's kind of
and he comes from rich parents, so he doesn't have to do this.
Yeah, and he's doing this for, like, I don't know, the purity of the sport or some other reason, but yeah.
Well, he's supposed to do it.
Gay men don't secretly chat up women they're not married to. That's not usually the gay course.
Yeah.
Unless I'm missing something.
But mostly, like, Ned's playing hockey to, like, piss off his dad. Like, this is his rebellion.
Yeah.
But, like, he's like the ultimate, like, It's like, okay, you went to college, your dad's rich, and you're playing minor league hockey, so you're not good enough to get to the majors, but you're also better than all of us. So it's like you're rich and you're better than us. So he's just like on paper, a really hateable character, even though he is weirdly the only moral character throughout the movie.
Yeah.
But he's also cheating on his wife, so I guess he's just an interesting, complex character.
Yeah, life's not easy for some people. It's multifaceted.
The teams like drinking and watching a soap opera, or maybe that was just 70s drama at the time that it was ridiculing. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that was all
about. But here the team finds like the planted story in the newspaper, which like lifts their spirits, which that was what that was all supposed to do in the first place. So Reggie's plan is coming together.
Yep.
We cut to like Reggie's in the bathroom, like as they're getting ready for a game, and he's kind of like pained because of basically all the years wear and tear of playing hockey and probably not getting good medical care. Although weirdly, I've heard like a thing of a lot of wrestlers, a lot of like independent wrestlers, because they don't have like health care all usually. They like go to like minor league or like college hockey like medical personnel for some reason to get like the cheapest advice they can for their issues.
Huh. Kind of a sense. Okay, keep synopsizing. I'll be right back.
I believe it's because hockey has the added element of like dentistry like injuries, which is a common thing in wrestling where people have really terrible things happen to their teeth. Even though it's all predetermined and planned, you still have to, mistakes can happen, and you can just punch people in the face when you're supposed to pretend to punch people in the face. And the corners in the ring is metal, so when you throw someone face first into metal and their teeth are there too, that happens. I remember Cesaro had a freak accident where he was jumping at somebody in the corner of the ring, and he is a very large man. The guy he was jumping at moves out of the way, and then in his instant of like selling the jump, just like headbutted the corner ring, and like his bottom teeth like went through his like upper lip or something crazy like that, and he had to like get his jaw wired and had to got his jaw wired, and then like had to have like braces and stuff to fix his teeth.
Oh, okay.
I was explaining why one of the reasons that the wrestlers might go to like hockey medical personnel is because they deal a lot with dental stuff too, as well as just regular injuries.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because wrestlers will incidentally have a lot of teeth injuries as well.
Those are the worst.
Although I like, the wrestlers always have like chew gum when they do a match. So when they have like a bit where like they get kicked in the face, they'll like spit the gum out, and like it'll be like, "Oh wait, did he just lose a tooth?" And like you don't know. But
adds to the drama.
Yeah. But yeah, there's been actually just really crazy wrestling incidents where like, oh no, he did lose his teeth. I remember one lady, this one lady was supposed to do like a fake kick in the face. Because she had like an arm bar and a different lady, and the other lady was supposed to come up and like kind of break up like her submission move, and then she goes to like kick her in the face, and she was supposed to like kind of like hit her across the chest, but the angle was weird, and she just kicked her right in the fucking teeth, and all her bottom teeth went out.
Oh yeah. Oops.
And then she went down immediately to like cover up, like to like hide it, like because that's what they do is like when something like that happens, is like you like cover up your opponent and like basically pretend like you're hurting them more, but really you're just like, are you okay, as you pretend to hit them.
Can we keep going?
pretend to hit them after you actually just fucking soccer kick them in the fucking face. Wrestling is predetermined, but it's not free from consequences.
No, it's like, it's it's not like Greco-Roman Olympic wrestling, but these people can really get hurt sometimes.
So we get to the ice, and Reggie's like running mind games with the other team. When one of them calls Reggie like old and washed up, Dave, one of the guys on the team, just goes and fights the guy, and then multiple fights break out. And then the team doctor sews up Dave's lip when they're back on the boards or the bench, and then that guy like comes by and taunts again, and so Dave hops the board and just beats the shit out of him this time.
Yes, that's after getting stitched up during the
game. Yeah. That's one of the greatest fighting things ever is hockey fighting, is the whole pull the jersey over the guy's head so his arms are like are like bound by his t-shirt, and then just punch him in the fucking face punch. Best move ever.
Now, does that still go on, or have they cleaned a lot of that up?
They cleaned a lot of that up. I haven't watched the game, but yeah, now it's because it used to be like, it's a part of, it's the mythos of hockey, and then, but, because like any other sport, it's like if a fight happens, like, well, those players are suspended. Baseball used to have the bench clearing brawls, which were fun, but now they've had it like, if you fucking leave the bench, we're going to suspend everybody who like left the dugout. And it's like, oh, great. Well, that means you're just going to forfeit entire games. We had that big fight in basketball where essentially that happened, where people got suspended for like months. But I was add an extra crazy element where they went into the stands to fucking punch the fans.
Yeah, I remember that. Now that you mentioned, it's like, the guys were just like putting knees in people's faces that had nothing to do with it to go after, go beat up the fans.
Which is funny because that happens in this movie too, but then that happens in real life.
Hey, one of the guys I went to have one of the people that did one of my dental implants was like, that was his claim to fame, was like he was, when he got out of dental school, he worked with the Red Wings hockey team.
Huh.
He said, I got a lot of practice making, dental stuff. They had the removable implants. I was getting the permanently fixed ones. Those guys, a lot of them do removable ones until like hockey's over, because it's like no sense wiring that post into your jaw just to have it blown out again. It's like, yeah.
And then we cut to the locker room, and Reggie's like hyping up the team for like the rest of the game, and he puts the Hansons in, and then they just wreck the other team. There's like 3 guys teaming up on everybody, and it's like to the delight of the team and the crowd. There's a fun thing where like the team's like leaning over the board, and they just come by with a stick and just slap all the guys' faces with the hockey stick. I was like, yeah, they just like do a power shot, and it completely misses and hits the organ player in the head.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just like lunatics. They're like they're like assaulting people with hockey sticks.
Yeah.
Like you could kill someone real easy doing the stuff they were doing.
And then eventually the Hansons get kicked out of the game to the applause of the crowd. Then we cut to, it's like, this is like after the game, and Denis like asking Joe about like who owns the team, but he doesn't get an answer. Then he's like back with talking with like Reggie, and I didn't know if it was like something where like he was trying to like trick Denis into like, nah, see, everything's okay, or if he was like really trying to get answers about like what's going on. Then we cut to like the team's like watching some like ice dancing routine.
Yeah,
I don't know if this is like a different day or just like following the game.
They didn't seem quite as, they didn't have blood running down their faces, so I'm guessing this was a day or two after the game. They were seeing like an Ice Follies production.
Yeah,
at their, I'm assuming their home stadium.
And I forget that there's like the one sex crazed guy who kind of looks like Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah. I thought I was like, oh, it's a different era's Billy Bob Thornton.
And he's just like her like just cat calling the women, and he's like this isn't art, this is sex. This is also the same guy that just has like porn like all over his locker room or locker room. So
it doesn't talk about anything. It always circles back to sex. Everything's a metaphor for sex or some kind of sex act, or
very truthful. So there's always that person.
Yes.
Always that person who's incredibly insecure and has to let you know, like, I fuck. But do you?
Oh, I know some guys. I've heard some real true blue serial killer stuff in the car plants. I've heard stuff I'll never repeat to any other human being. But some of the stuff is because it's like some things, if it's creative, if it gets a laugh out of me, it's funny. But some of it's like, oh, you just never stop. This isn't like a once a week, I'm going to tell you a dirty joke. Like, this is every breath you take, every thought through your head. Because we had some younger girl, and young people are not as common in those places as you, especially on the day shift. It's all a bunch of guys in their 50s. But yeah, sometimes we'll have people come in and work overtime from other shifts, and it came to a question of, which unit was she driving? It's like, I don't know. I didn't see the numbers because they needed to give it to the next person. And the one guy says, I can find out how. And it's like, what do you mean? How can you find out? He goes, I'll smell the seats. It's like, oh, okay. You're a psychopath. Okay. I get it. So determining which machine we need to get has now become some mammal sex hunt with your olfactory system.
I can detect the pH balance.
Oh yeah, he retired, believe it or not. But, you were nuts. Okay, I never would have thought. I was immediately thinking like, oh, you can check the log routers and find out who was logged in. I was so stupid. Even to this day, like, oh, you must know how to search these things in a way I don't. It's like, no, I'm just a bloodthirsty savage that can smell women. And anything that's been close to their sex organs, I can identify like that. And it's like, oh, you're crazy. I guess. Didn't help us find the forklift, believe it or not. But yeah, I've heard lots of
but
stuff
he got
like
to put on a show.
Yeah, he got to remind you that, like, well, we know what's on your one-track mind.
Reggie and some of the team go on a date with like the skating girls or whatever. Reggie spots his wife in the restaurant and gets like thrown off and jealous. Here I wrote, what the fuck is he wearing? He's got like brown leather pants and coat, but it almost looks like it's like velvet or something.
Yeah, it's very 70s, like a guy that like looks cool like that could get away with that.
Yeah,
because it's like weird suede looking, not suede, it's like weird treated patterned leather with bell bottoms, and then a shirt that has like characters on it that like a couple cowboys facing each other or something. It's like no one else but Paul Newman could get away with it. And he wears that a lot in this movie. That outfit shows up quite a few times.
We have the team on the road. Reggie keeps a bunch of his lies about like the new owners. There's a fan bus that chases him down. So it's like, the luck of the team is changing around. They got fans on the road.
It's basically groupies. It's all women.
Yeah. Here we have the team are trying to get rooms but they won't let them put forward a room. So then the Hansons start beating up the hotel manager.
Well, they pick him up and just hold him up by his legs.
Trying to shake the change out of him.
Yeah.
We cut to the locker room. Reggie's giving another pep talk, but here we have Ned is being like super sarcastic because he knows Reggie's full of shit, but he's the only one that knows that. Well, he is full of shit, but it's also working. Like they're on a winning streak. They have fans now. the home fans like them. Although later on we find out there is some people at home that don't like them. Where it's like, why are you bothering to have a protest at night about a minor league hockey team? Anyways,
the mob will turn on you.
The teams hit the ice, and before the game even starts, they have a bench clearing brawl. And this is my favorite part of the movie. We cut to like it's silence, and everyone is standing for the national anthem, and they just cut to the different Hansons in their various states of bleeding,
Yeah.
and like their glasses are broken in different ways or fogged up in some ways. And then the ref like looks at him, and he's like, and then in the middle of the national anthem, he goes up to him and is like, you know, I don't want any funny business from you. Like I run a fair game. And they just yells at the ref like, I'm listening to the fucking song.
Yeah, that's a great character moment there.
So yeah, it's like, yeah, it's my favorite. Like, there's something about the cinematography there. It just works. The joke works, and it's just the composition of it. It's like that's a fantastic scene.
Oh yeah, because it's jarring but believable. It's like, what's he gonna do? Hit the ref? Is he gonna like what can he do? It's like, oh, you're interrupting my enjoyment of the national anthem. The reason we're standing here quietly, and it's not so you can have a sidebar with me.
Well, that's why I think they're like Canadian, because then that would make the thing extra, because they don't necessarily have to be like conform to the national anthem or care about it. But I like that they're just being respectful to another country's national anthem and swearing at the ref.
This is important.
After the game, Walt is beating the bus with a sledgehammer to, like, he says, to make it look mean.
Yeah.
So I thought they just couldn't open the door for a second there, but no, he has an idea. Reggie calls his wife and someone else answers, so then he's, you know, weirded out by that. Then we have Dave comes up to, I think, to Reggie, and he wants his new name to be Killer. Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense other than, you know. Although it's weird later on, like, kind of without, like, they give it some, like, backstory, but he just, like, kind of becomes like a Buddhist monk, like, towards the end of the movie.
Well, yeah, he goes to a religious store and gets some records, of course.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's like positive feeling stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, but master the universe. Don't let it master you. Have good thoughts, good vibes. You know, they'll carry. It's like, yeah, it's some remnant of the hippie days.
And here we have Ned tells Reggie that he's not going to goon it up. So that's, you know, he's just not going to play dirty and just have a boxing match that breaks out into a hockey game.
Yeah.
But Reggie counters that with saying that he'll bench him. And then a bus full of ladies stop the bus again, and presumably sex goes on. And then here's where they come up to, like, the crowd of, like, protesters at night, and both buses, like, moon the crowd of protesters. To the delight of some people and to the horror of others.
Well, it was in the town they were going to play.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, that was I think it was Hyannisport, and that's out in is that in Maine or some I don't know, because they were going all around playing in this federal league.
Yeah.
Minor league hockey. So I think it was like an uptight town. They're like, yeah, we don't want these, because Hyannisport is where the Bushes are from.
Oh, okay.
That kind of place. If that's where it is, it could be Hyannisport, Pennsylvania. I don't know. But when I thought it was out in Maine. It's like, oh, it's a bunch of uptight rich people. And then the town, the players and the women in the fan bus just moon the whole town. Some people are horrified and some people are secretly giddy. Like I sort of like that.
And then they go to the next game. Here, the Hansons score a goal rather than just punching somebody. And then somebody in the crowd throws something and, like, breaks one of their glasses. And, you know, so of course they go into the crowd and fight the crowd.
Yeah.
And because one of them doesn't have the glasses, he's just punching random people, trying to make sure he gets to the guy that threw the thing at him.
Yeah, no, not him. It's the other one, and just goes punch the next guy. And these people are just running away, like, we didn't throw anything at you.
And then they cut to like after the game, the cops show up at the locker room to arrest the Hansons. We have a fight where like Reggie tries like saying like he escalates what was thrown at him. It's like the guy threw a monkey wrench at him. Like, what do you expect him to do? He's defending himself. When he actually like he got some car keys thrown at him. Yeah. Or something like that. I'm sitting there like, why would you throw your car keys? That's just making a lot of work for yourself.
Then you can't get away when these psychos come after you.
So even though he kind of like he's kind of smooths things over with the cops or gives them a different perspective. The Hansons just go out to get like arrested anyways, but like, but they're happy about it. It's like, well, hey officer, should we go to jail now?
Yeah.
Joe goes about the Hansons, but like it's too much for Joe. So then Ned brings money. What does he have? Like he has like a bag that says Western Union on it. So like, I'm guessing that's how they did it back in the day. Like you get a bunch of money like that, you get a bag that says Western Union on it.
Yeah.
I'm used to just those like, those paper envelopes. Cause I've probably the most money cash I've ever had on hand is probably like $2,000, which will fit in an envelope. I've never had like so much money where I'd like, no, I need a comical bag for it.
Yeah, I've never had I live in the age of digital transfer. It's like I don't physically carry money. Speaking of throwing stuff on the ice, I know at the Red Wings, you remember when they used to throw like squid?
Yeah.
On the ice, which sounds like, because that was going on here. That always goes on. That's more of a playoffs activity than a regular season.
Yeah.
So last time we were in the playoffs, people kept doing this, and they, first of all, were describing like some of these things. I don't know where they got them. They're still alive, and that's horrible because they freeze to the ice, and but it's a nightmare to clean them off the ice because if they have any warmth to them or a bunch of liquid on them, it just freezes instantly to the ice, and then they've got to like redo it. And, that's been going on, I guess, here since the 50s. They'll throw stuff on the ice.
Oh, is that local to the Red Wings?
Yeah, this is a Red Wings thing. Other people have done it. The Mighty Ducks, somebody threw a skinned duck on the ice a couple years ago. It's like weird, dark shit. It's like, oh, no.
I mean, I do like when... I mean, is that why it's called a hat trick? When somebody scores 3 goals, you like throw your hat in the ring?
I think so, yeah.
And throwing your hat in a ring, is that also from that?
I'm not sure. I thought that had more to do with
that's more like presidential elections or something, right?
Yeah, it was like put your name, if you vote for me, put a piece of paper in my hat or whatever, and we'll put them in this ring. And yeah, which we're probably going to have to go back to that system as well. Because now no election's ever going to be valid again. So we might as well just do chits of paper and people in attendance, and whoever makes the loudest noise, that guy gets to be president. It's like, yeah, why not? It's a decibel all this level. Computer stuff.
I mean, it's a decibel level. It's pure statistics.
Yeah, it's measurable.
The Hockey Wives get a scene where they're talking about like drinking irresponsibly. I don't know if this scene passes the Bechdel test because all they're talking about is their men. So, if you know what the Bechdel test, it's an arbitrary test to kind of like prove whether you like actually care about your female characters in your movies. Is like, do they have a scene where they talk to another woman? And are they talking about something other than a man? That is the Bechdel test. So.
Oh, okay.
Again, not a real thing, but it's just kind of like, it's like some people, I don't know, some people like, that doesn't even pass the Bechdel test. And I'm like, that's not a real thing. Like, I understand you're saying like, this is poorly written in some ways, but that's not like an empirical value of the evaluation of the movie. But, I think Star Trek, like Edge of Darkness, like didn't pass the Bechdel test, and I was like, oh my god, that's like Star Trek's ruined. It's like, okay, again, I understand what you're getting at, but also that's not true.
Yeah.
Some things are signifiers, not absolutes.
And also, this is why Trump won the election in 2016. Just throwing that out there. This kind of stuff will lead to the idiot king.
I mean, it's also something like, it's just a thing, but like people, I don't know. Sometimes the people that bring up the thing like, oh, this is what it's really about. It's like, no, that's just a distraction, but I guess you have to fight this argument anyways. And so, and
well, we got to understand in this country, in this very politicized country that it's become, there are dumb people on both sides.
Yeah.
Just because the QAnon people seem like obviously the dumbest, doesn't mean necessarily that it's all brilliance on the other side.
Oh yeah. So also in the meantime, like while they're talking about their husbands and getting drunk, we have Ned gets out the bus early to avoid Lily. Again, we don't really know why, other he's just avoiding his wife. And so when everybody gets off the bus, like he's not there. You also have like Reggie's basically trying to hit on her the whole time. It's like, well, if you don't want to fuck her, it's like, I guess I'll try this out.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason not to,
right? She speeds away, and jumps in. He jumps in the van with her, and she's like driving erratically again. And then, but she drops Reggie off at his house, and then she drives away crying. It's like, this is weird.
Yeah, because he's like, come on, come upstairs. I'll give you a massage. I'll make you a dinner. And she's obviously like emotionally distressed, and he's like,
yeah,
let me try to seduce you. They're obviously like in a vulnerable state.
You're gonna make a poor, if you're gonna make a poor decision, I'm giving you the best poor decision.
Yeah, make this one for the books. Don't sell yourself short.
Reggie meets with his wife, and he finds out his wife is moving because the town is dying. Again, this is like signifying like, but it's like almost like happy. It's like she's like smiling, where it's like, I'm gonna move to another town, Reggie. It's like, oh, you don't get it. The town's dying. It's like, especially later on when she's like driving off in her car with like a trailer full of stuff, and it's like, oh, this is the very slow motion zombie apocalypse that's occurring.
This is the part of the collapse of Western civilization where you can move to upstate New York and you'll be fine. Things have advanced much farther now, but back then.
Reggie speaks with Joe, and he like blackmails him with like sexual harassment that either did or did not happen. I'm not sure what this is about.
It's not sexual harassment as much as like him getting drunk, dressing in drag, and hitting on him. Like that would be more. This is more like sexual blackmail. Like, oh, I know about some weird proclivity you have.
Yeah,
and I'm also going to advertise it.
I'm also not sure if that happened or if he just says he's going to say that, and then people will believe it. Like, I don't know.
It's more funny if it actually happened.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I know you thought I forgot about that. I never talked about it and I never told anyone. However, now might be the time for certain information to be, which is what a good person does to another person. In a moment of weakness, they save their worst moments in a memory bank for later use. This children is called being a sociopath.
I can't remember why he does it. Like, what blockade is Joe putting up that he has?
He wants to find out who the real owner of the team is.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
And then we have Reggie goes on a radio show and puts a $100 bounty on the captain of the Syracuse team, Tim McCracken. So basically, if one of his team members just annihilates him and so he can't finish the game, he'll give him $100. And then Joe's like, you can't do that, we'll get arrested. And then Reggie's just like, let it ride. Let's see how this plays out. Then we saw Reggie like trying to get some sleep, but he gets like unwanted phone calls I think he just like rips the phone cord out and just puts it in a drawer. And then he gets a knock at the door, and then Lily shows up with all her stuff. He's like, all right, I'm moving with it. I'm moving in with you. And then he's like, did you tell Ned? And she's like, you think I should? But then he like passes out because like their giant Saint Bernard's like on the bed, like taking up most of it, so he kind of just like sleeps perpendicular to the dog and just passes out because he's got to get ready for it because they're like in contention for the playoffs. So because they're like on a 5-game winning streak.
Yeah.
Because the more they're on a winning streak, the more valuable the team is, and the more maybe they can get sold to somebody. Oh yeah. Reggie gets mad at the organ player for playing like "Lady of Spain." So yeah. I don't know what that's about. It just suddenly happens. Also, like that the organ player now has like a headgear on,
hockey helmet on. Yeah.
And then McCracken confronts Reggie. He throws some insults at him, but he's like, okay, it's like you cocksucker. It's like, I can't get enough of it or something like that. So he's just unfazed by that.
Well, remember before this, he actually meets the team owner.
Oh, I thought it was later.
No, it was before this game.
Okay.
Because he meets, her name's Anita McCambridge.
Yeah. I have that as my last note.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever. We'll talk about it in that order then.
Yeah. Well, I could have it wrong, but I have it like the game starts. Ned gets a score, and then McCracken chases Ned down. Killer goes and like hockey stick fights with McCracken, like they're sword fighting with hockey sticks.
Yeah.
Ned goes into the announcer's booth and then like shares like too much information with like his bad marriage and everything that's going on. It's like he's like swearing
on the radio.
Yeah, and so Joe's like trying to stop everything. And then the announcer and Ned end up like he like Ned's like refusing to fight on the ice, but here he like ends up like punching the announcer. And then he punches Joe. He ends up hitting Joe, and Joe gets like sent down a flight of stairs, which I'm not sure if we ever see Joe again after that.
No, he's one more scene.
Oh, okay. I was like, did Joe die?
That's what I thought too, but then it's like that because that would usually kill someone. Yeah.
Then we have Reggie takes Lily to see Francine for like a makeover. Again, like don't know what this is in the movie for, but it's well, no. I guess it has a purpose later on, but and here I wrote Reggie leaves to go spy, and here he finds Anita McCambridge, who apparently owns the chief. And this is the scene like I was like, I don't know like how he gets this information. It comes up out of nowhere, and he knows she owns the team or whatever. Which like it's been a mystery the whole time, but Anita's like too smart for Reggie, so she knows what he's trying to do. Like he's trying to sell the team, but then she basically explains that like she can't sell the team for a profit because it's more valuable as a tax write-off to fold the team, which has never stopped.
Yeah, that goes on.
It's one of those things like you don't understand business. It's like, yeah, but when can business meet reality? It's like never. This is also a thing where he says something about like her son being gay or something like that, and I was like, I didn't know if that was like referring to Ned, but it's like, no, that's not Ned's mom. Like, who's she the mother of that he knows?
Well, when he shows up, he helps her and the kids carry groceries in from their Volvo.
Yeah.
And then one kid comes up and is like, Mom, I want to go play in the yard. And it was like, no, we need you to, or I need you to do something. And he's kind of whiny or whatever. So that's the son he's talking
about. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was, well, for a minute there, I thought she was like referring to Joe. It's like, I don't think she's Joe's mom.
No.
Oh, okay. All right. But yeah, this is like just like the deflating thing where it's like everything he's been working for is now isn't worth anything, because even if they win the championship, the team is going to fold anyways because it's just too valuable as a tax write-off.
Yeah.
So I have that being the end of Act 2, because that's the character at the lowest. So we have Act 3. Reggie goes to Ned's house. He like kind of spots him walking into the forest, but then he doesn't give chase. He just kind of like admits to all his lies out in the open.
Yeah.
He doesn't even know if he's being hurt or not. Here we have then we cut to like we're at the championship game and they're in the locker room. The team's hyped for the championship game, but then Reggie just kind of also here he just like readmits all the truth to the rest of the team. And he says he's also saying he's going to retire, and he wants his last game to be, he wants to win it clean. So they're playing Syracuse for the championship, and Syracuse have like hired a bunch of goons. Like they replaced a bunch of their team with just a bunch of like mythical goons. Like there's a Native American guy who just like, that's what he does. He beats the shit out of people. He's like recently out of jail. The mythical Oglethorpe shows up, and this is played by Ben Dowd, the brother of the writer of this, who was an actual minor league hockey player, and what this movie is kind of based on is his life. And then there's just a bunch of other guys that are basically, they're not hockey players. They're just like enforcers.
Yeah.
The Hansons come out and they're all acting nice because like I forget they mentioned the player. I forget who it was, but it's like, yeah, we're gonna play like Ed Rice or something like that. Some famous hockey player.
Yeah, like hockey players from the 50s. I'd be like this. We're gonna say please and thank you. Knock somebody's teeth, down their throat.
Well, here they're acting nice, so they're not going to be just punching people randomly. But then the team goes back to the locker room at like, well, they don't have halftime, so what are the periods? I think there's 3 periods in hockey.
Something like that.
Or maybe there's 4. Damn it.
Yeah, because this is where the team manager shows up. This is his last scene.
Okay. Yeah, Joe comes in. He's like mad because this is where he informs them that they're like, he wants them to play ugly like they've been doing and be goons because there's NHL scouts in the crowd. So apparently if they just play like they used to be, and like maybe somebody will get to go to the majors, because they know like, well, the team's gonna fold, but maybe some people can move beyond it and go to the NHL.
Yeah.
And
which it ends with the scene of like the manager walks out, and then Reggie's just walking around looking, and he's like, scouts, and then it cuts right to the next play, and it's just like people beating on each other.
Yeah.
Like not even playing hockey, just wailing on each other.
Yeah. It's just fist fighting. The crowd is chanting "kill."
Blood all over the ice and uniforms. And
Ned isn't participating. But then Ned, like in the midst of the fighting, he's just sitting on the bench. He spots Lily, who now she's all gussied up and has a perm.
Yep.
And I would say doesn't look better, but that's the 70s. That was just the style at the time, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, she does for the time. It's kind of now that would be like very complex. Eventually, we're going to view the 70s in terms of style as like how we look at the Elizabethan age, when people had those big frilly like neck things that went all around. And so like no one would ever dress like that except to just look like, odd. And let's say 70s fashion is very similar to that. 100 years from now, that will be like the, Elizabethan collar age fashion at the end of the 20th century.
But anyways, he sees Lily and she's all gussied up. And so for some reason that makes him happy. And also for some reason, he goes and skates around the ice, like kind of like more of like a skating routine and not just like some hockey doing some drills. And then he starts to strip. And then him stripping makes McCracken mad, the captain of Syracuse.
And let's not forget the high school band starts playing ye old time stripper music with like woodwind and brass instruments.
And the crowd loved it.
Yeah. And the crowd immediately was like with him.
And then McCracken ends up punching the ref, and because he did that, he assaulted an official that hands the win to the Chiefs for some reason.
And don't forget, these guys were one step away from beating each other with like coiled up bicycles chain around their hands. And McCracken objects because a man is stripping, like that is immoral. Again, more of the themes in this movie of like, you know, lots. I mean, the F word is used a lot in this movie, and I don't mean the curse word. And it's like, oh, anything in that world, which is kind of funny in the context of this movie because it's all men doing manly men stuff. And they're so horrified by the concept of a man stripping. It's like they're willing to like, I'm just going to punch a ref because he's not seeing my point of view. Because I am not by default a homosexual if my wife is a lesbian or my girlfriend or whatever. So it all comes full circle.
And Ned grabs the trophy. He's just wearing his jock strap, and he like goes off with it. And then there's a parade in the town for the team winning the championship. It vaguely reminds me of Animal House, the end of Animal House.
Yeah, it's a very similar look.
I mean, 70s parade is a 70s parade, but because it's a comedy and there's a parade going on, I just immediately think of Animal House. So, I think it was the next year. I think 78 was Animal House.
Yeah.
So I want to say like 78 was like I think Dad had something where like he thought like Animal House should have won the Oscar for Best Picture, not necessarily because it was the best movie. It's just that like every other movie that year was so awful. It's like, no, this is the only one that was worth watching.
Everything was depressing. Like, what's the other movie besides Animal House? Oh, Sophie's Choice. Well, that's uplifting. Let's get the family around the TV to watch that.
Reggie sees Francine. She's leaving town. She's got like her like Buick, and then she has a giant trailer behind it. Because that's what you did with those cars.
Yeah, because they had like 600 cubic inch engines in them, but they only produced 150 horsepower for some reason. But whatever.
Reggie goes up to her. He's like kind of giving her excuses, saying that like he's going to be coaching up in Minnesota, which seems like a lie. But then when she takes off and he goes back to with Ned and Lily, Lily's like, so did you tell her about Minnesota? So apparently that's true, but his wife doesn't believe it. So their relationship's over.
Why would his wife believe anything he said?
Then the movie just carries on with more celebration. That's pretty much the end of the movie. The celebration, the credits play over the celebration. So a weird, wacky 70s sports movie, just in time for Sportstober.
well, it kind of, again, this is the DNA of all the raunchy sports movies that came later in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. Like, this is all started here.
It's definitely mostly comparable with Major League. It's like a similar concept, and like although they're not trying to tank the team in Slapshot, but it's similar that like, oh, if we don't win, like, it's like Breakin'.
Yeah.
If they don't get money because of the breakdancing contest, they can't save the Civic Center. So here it's a similar thing. Although, when did Breakin'? This had to have come out before Breakin', right?
Oh yeah. Breakin' was like 80s.
Yeah, pretty sure. Well, everybody knows the sequel to Breakin', so
yes,
Breakin' 2: Electric Boogaloo,
because that has somehow also become the code for civil war in America. Like, what a weird. How does this lead to that? To this? To that? Okay.
But yeah, I mean, there was I mean, because the big kind of like, because also the era of Rocky came out in '76, and that's about like, like a guy who's an underdog who like goes and fights a champion and he loses, and that's like, but it's satisfying because like, no, he got there. Like he proved
Yeah.
himself. He didn't win, but he proved himself. Which um, here they win the championship, but they lose because the team's going to be folded. So it's like a bittersweet thing,
Yeah.
rather than like, oh, this is the start of their rise. Like, no, this is it. It's over now.
It's like the Germans in World War II. It's not whether you win or lose the war; it's the friends you made along the way. Right? Am I missing something? Yeah.
um, and there's stuff like The Longest Yard was around there too, and
Yeah.
I don't know what North Dallas 40 is. That's just another '70s football movie.
Yeah, that's more of like a comedic, like dramedy type movie about football.
Yeah.
Without all this stuff is like the raunch humor and all. This is more in line with like the Bad News Bears.
Yeah, well, actually, that's what I forgot to say. Like, Bad News Bears precedes this.
Yeah.
But like, they don't win the championship in that game. In there, do they? Like, their whole thing's about like they're just terrible, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just they like learn to work together as a team, but yeah, they don't really. I don't believe they had the skills to like pull it through.
Yeah.
But
that's also what I like about Major League is like in Major League they don't win the world championship. They like win like whatever, I forget, like the AL championship or whatever. Like they get into the playoffs. They don't win the championship. They just get into the playoffs, and that's a victory for like what's supposed to be the worst team in the league.
It's what you call the Detroit Lions victory. It's like, oh, if the Lions get to the playoffs, we just burn the city down. It doesn't. They're not going to win. They're not going to go to the Super Bowl. But getting to the playoffs is like a Lions fan, like, Super Bowl. Yeah.
I mean, I did see the highlights of that Lions Seahawks game where it's like, oh man, they lost by like 3 points, but it's like, oh man, you put up 43. For some reason, the Lions do not have a good record this year, but man, they are putting up a lot of points for a team that I don't know any of their offensive players.
Well, yeah, it has to, it's the problem with the Lions is the offense is there, the defense isn't.
Well, it seems a lot like their what do you call that? Their secondary isn't great. They seem to be giving up a lot of large passing plays.
Yeah,
but I'm only vaguely vaguely paying attention to the Lions because I watched the Hard Knocks and I was kind of enthralled by their coach and the team. It's like, oh, I hope these guys do well, and unfortunately they are not, but man, they are trying their hardest.
They're doing better than they have in a long time, even though it's kind of the same result, but losing by 3 points is a universe apart from like losing by 40. That's a different kind of losing. That's a losing by 3. There's nothing to salvage strategically for a better season. It's we'll see. It's always a legacy.
So this,
and I am by no means a sports authority. Most of this I base off talk with my son. So he can tell you like numbers and stuff. Okay, you say so.
So this movie kind of weirdly had a cult following. It wasn't that big. I mean, like it made more than its budget, but like I guess for George Roy Hill, like Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid and The Sting were both like $100 million blockbusters, and this was just like made 20 million, so it was kind of seen, but it has become a cult classic and probably like because I remember definitely seeing like the VHS for Slapshot, and then somehow just always like reading the back of it and just being like, oh, I've seen Major League. So I've unfairly compared this to Major League, having seen Major League first, even though this precedes it. So. Well, also because I know more of the people in Major League. It's like, as a kid, you're not like, ooh, like I'm a big Paul Newman head, like
Yeah.
This is Paul Newman's favorite character and favorite movie, and that's kind of a weird thing to think about, being that like the long-standing and prestigious career he had.
Well, I don't think he felt he had to be like just on point with his. He was great with his act. You believed him as this character, even though every time you're like, "That's Paul Newman." Holy shit, that's Paul Newman. Yep, that's Paul Newman. But you did believe him as this character, even though it was Paul Newman. So he did a good job as an actor, but I don't think he felt like pressure.
Yeah. Sometimes, because like sometimes sometimes when you hear an actor say like, "Oh man, this movie was so much fun to make," that's usually a warning sign that this movie sucks.
Yeah, this was a low effort, high paying exercise.
Yeah,
my favorite kind of movie to film. I didn't even have to go around and do goofy promo stuff with it because they knew it sucked already. It's like, no, but this wasn't that.
And I think Paul Newman's a cool guy. He was a race car driver. I think he won a few professional races. He made salad dressing and all that stuff. He gave most of his money away to charity. Like, he was one of Hollywood's cool guys.
Yeah, I've never heard like horrible things about him. I mean, for a man of his time, it's like, yeah, he turned out pretty cool. It's like there was no like, oh, he beat his wife violently all the time, like backstories. Like, no, he was a nice guy that made salad dressing and some good croutons, and basically lived a great life and gave all his money away because it's like, well, I guess it's I'm gonna die eventually, so why am I hanging on to all this?
Paul Newman definitely. Especially for Hollywood, probably one of Hollywood's greatest human beings.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves is probably up there because he also just gives away all his money.
Oh yeah, does he? Okay, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, he's like, I just need my motorcycle. He lives in New York, takes the subway a lot. You can just find Keanu Reeves just out and about doing things. It's like, what are you doing here?
When I heard his backstory and what happened like with his wife and why he doesn't have, because he doesn't have kids or anything. He's not been married multiple times. It's like, oh, he's just a sad person.
Yeah.
Some bad stuff happened to him, and it's like, this is how I deal with it.
But puts a lot of positive energy out in the world despite those terrible things.
And despite the fact he's mostly known for playing very violent characters in movies, but not hateable ones, just.
It's like also like him and Christian Bale are like one of those like amazing, like you have 3 weeks to train for something and they become an expert in it.
Yeah, that psychotic work ethic.
Yeah. Because
like when he was doing the John Wick stuff, is like, oh, what's a 3-gun competition? Where can I learn more about this? He's like competing at a championship level and 3-gun shoots. It's like, oh, that's nuts.
Yeah, and he's like a Buddhist, like peace-loving guy, but it's like, oh, I'm just shooting targets, right? It's like, yeah, it's like, okay, and he's like the most badass person in the world.
Yeah.
He's never gonna shoot you, but if he wants to, he could kill 8 people in a hotel lobby.
Oh yeah.
And I always remember thinking about Christian Bale, like what was that kind of like 1984 movie he did? Where they have like the gun kata.
Yeah. Why am I thinking Perfect Dark? That's not it. It's what is it? It's I can't remember. And it's right there because I actually liked that movie because there was like a lot of cool stuff in there.
I mean, yeah, like it never came out in theaters, and I remember seeing that like on the DVD show. I was like, oh, this seems cool, and it is a cool movie, but like, it's also like not a good movie. It's just a cool
it's
movie.
Not good. But it's
Equilibrium.
Yep, that's it. I was just looking it up. Yeah, that was.
But there's a thing in the movie where like they give him 2 pump action shotguns, and the thing is, he's supposed to rack the shotgun by just like pure force, by like just shoving it forward, or like, yeah, just like kind of racking it forward and backwards. If you do it with enough force, you can rack the shotgun without having to grab the fore end.
Yeah.
And like, you know, they had like these big beefy stunt guys trying to show off like, yeah, it's possible, and they couldn't do it. Like they tried to show them how to do it, and the stunt guys couldn't do it. They give Christian Bale the shotguns, first take, does it.
Nice.
He's, you know, just like, yeah, any other hard ones for me? You know, and like Tom Cruise, like, yeah, I'm gonna learn how to fly a plane for my movie.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna drag people behind a helicopter on wires and stuff and have a fight scene. It's like, can we do that practically? He's like, oh, that'd be really dangerous. Like, oh no, I can do that. Like, okay. And just like all the in-camera filming, or the not in-camera, the in-cockpit filming for the new Top Gun movie.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, that's crazy. And then I guess someone said that scene where the Dark Star takes off and the roof flies off the top of the building, like that wasn't
the roof wasn't supposed to come off that building.
They were just like, yeah, just keep it.
Yeah, just happy accident. Looks cool. Good.
Got that in there.
Well, anyways, if you liked what you heard, and how couldn't you can find us at Verhoeven Effect, anchor.fm/Verhoeven Effect, or you can go to verhoeveneffect.com. You can rate our podcast. You can rate us whatever you want, but you can. The only thing the algorithm listens to is whether the highest rating is. Remember, you control the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't control you. You can also, we have listener support at verhoeveneffect.com, where you can support us at a monthly stipend, either 99 cents, $4.99, or $9.99. You can find us at Twitter at Verhoeven Effect, Facebook Verhoeven Effect, or you can find us on YouTube at American Greed Factory, where you can watch both that show and this show live and unedited. We also have t-shirts at belowthecollar.com/Greed Factory. So for the Verhoeven Effect podcast, I'm Conlon.
I'm Nathan.
Goodbye, America.